Good morning from Albuquerque, New Mexico, or wherever you are. Good afternoon, good evening. Today we have something very important. Confusion I'm seeing across the board that mass killing is the same as genocide. It's not. Let's go through this with PowerPoint. We already talked about something, which is what? Hate crime is not genocide. And now we are going to talk about why mass killing is not genocide. So let's see what are the differences. I have to talk about this one more time because this is Lemkin's definition and it is the basis of the United Nations definition on genocide. According to Lemkin, genocide is the destruction of a nation or an ethnic group. Generally speaking, genocide does not necessarily mean the immediate destruction of a nation, except when accomplished by mass killings of all members of a nation. It is extended rather to signify a coordinated plan of different actions aiming at the destruction of the essential foundation of the life of national group with the aim of annihilating the group themselves. We have gone through this when I uh, made the distinction between hate crime and genocide. This is why mass killing is not genocide, because this is a confusion that people are like entrenched in this. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Um, so mass murder or Ganahatya is said in the modern vernacular language. None of these are genocides, and I'll go through them very carefully. But first, let's see. Mass murder is a single episodic act of violence occurring at one time and one place. So space time contingent. It involves more than two victims and typically a large number. Genocide, it's not a single act of violence but continues through generations. The intent is not to annihilate a group, the intent is to completely annihilate a group. The panic is direct, severe, and short lived when there is mass killing. We all know that. But the panic and effect of genocide sustains over and affects many generations. See, mass murder is what Hiroshima and Nagasaki could be. Well, there are other points there, but genocide is not the same as mass murder. You can see from these distinctions. So let's make this more subtle. American criminologist Park Elliot's Dietz puts mass murder under the head of multiple homicide. There are three elements of multiple homicide: attack with homicidal intent. Out of these, the victims, at least three, are killed. Attacks are perpetrated against five or more victims. These are the three important elements. Serial killing, multiple homicides. Serial killing, more than three killings carried over time. So serial killing is not exactly multiple homicide. Mass murder, more than three killings in one episode. So serial killing is over a period of time, but the serial killing is also not genocide. And we have to make this distinction because these are all very subtle, and genocide is the most subtle. I think we're coming to that. All right, according to Dietz, the same guy who talked about Park Elliott's Dietz, there are different types of mass killing. Family annihilators, where all the family members are killed, and we have seen that over and over again. Pseudo commandos, military fatigue wearing terrorists are pseudo commandos. They're power motivated individual fascinated with weapon, and they've made plans before. Set and run killers, these are mass murders using poison, remote murderers. They're not easy to incriminate. These are murderers who are not in the scene, but they manipulate the scene and they commit murder. Ronald M. Holmes and Stephen H. Holmes there said there are two more categories of mass murder or mass killing, you can say. Disciplines. These are mass murder for a charismatic leader, that you love a leader, so you commit a mass killing, and disgruntled employee. And we have seen that someone's angry at the workplace and they commit these. This has happened. Motives for mass murder, Fox and Levin. Vengeance is the most important motive, for money or power or love. For acts of terror are for money, profit, and power, and love is mostly familial, and all the members of the family members are killed. There's individual revenge towards an individual, there could be revenge towards a group. Someone hates a group of people and they take revenge. The elements of a mass, what are there are three different elements of mass murderer: predispositors. There are long term stable preconditions that accumulate in time. It's their personality. They may be a feeling of inferiority in them. Not always true, but there is a feeling of inferiority. So that's how they try to enhance their self image by mass murder, so that they'll be talked about because they have a feeling of inferiority. Precipitants, those are short term acute triggers. Something triggered them and they go on shooting. And this has happened, several times. Especially we are seeing gun violence now. Facilitator, they have access to weapons available all the time. People in the police force, military, they have easy access to weapons. And so these are the three elements in mass murder. See, there are three types of mass killings. Mullins makes that distinction. Instrument specific killing, it's a large scale mass murder unleashed to advance specific objective. The mass murder is that I hate these group of people, I'll kill her, all of them right now. It's very temporal, it's very specific, because it's contingent space and time. Victim specific mass killing, when victims are a member of a very broad group, these are seen as obstacles to that group. That I hate this group, so I'll kill a lot of people in this group, but that's still not genocide. Unfocused massacre, they're relatively indiscriminate killing, harming other. Um, the primary purpose are in this indiscriminate killing, the primary purpose are of two categories: group centric, group conflict. When there's group conflict, we saw that with the Tutsis and the Hutus in Rwanda. And there could also be other reasons, individual reason for killing. So there are three types of mass murder. Is not one thing. Remember, we talked about predisposition. There's something in their personality. They want to make a name or something. Then there are some precipitating factors in the environment, and then there are facilitators. They are in such a position where they have easy access to weapons. So these are the three elements in mass murder. Doesn't mean they are always working together, but they're there. There are three types: instrumental mass killing, large scale of mass murder unleashed to advance specific objectives. So if I kill all these group of people, then they are just a burden on society, and that will be good. Victim specific mass killing, where it's a broad group obstacle. Victim is a member of a broad group who is an obstacle to attaining our goal. An unfocused massacre, they're not killing anyone specific, it's just random killing of a group. All right. What are the psychological aspects of mass killing? Chronic strain. Someone is under chronic strain, and we will see that with look in the Katian forest, which is went to the Guinness Book of World Record. It's caused by structural barriers. They are having problems in school because they're so stressed out. They're having problems at work. They're having problems with the family. There's a chronic strain, uncontrolled strain. Family, friends, social institutions, they discover criminal activities. Most of the people in this uncontrolled strains, they lack a social network. It's not always true, but they do lack a social network. Acute strain, short-term injury or insult, that's very critical. It's a very short-term thing. It's not continuous, but they are going through some strain now, and they take it out through this mass killing. So that's very important. So there are two stages in mass killing: the planning stage and then the event stage. Levin and Mevtis conceptualized this trait through routine activities. There's a theory of Cohen and Felsen, according to whom the crime theory, there is suitable target, effective guardians are observed, and then the crime is committed. So mass killing is pretty technical way we can understand it. There are psychological reasons and social reasons and so forth. All right, this one's stuck for some reason. All right. So, three types of mass killing: instrumental mass killing, large mass killing to advance specific objectives. That you want to attain a goal, you want to cleanse these group of people from your area, so you do instrumental mass killing. Victim specific. When a victim is a member of a broad group, someone hates this race or ethnicity, and they kill that person as a symbol, and then unfocus. It's just indiscriminate. Then we went to the psychological reasons. There's strain from work, strain from family, strain from school work, college, etc. Uncontrollable strains. These are people who have antisocial strains, and they're mostly people without a broad network. And then acute strain, that something has happened at this moment and that's triggering it. And then there is the planning and preparation. So that's more or less what your mass killing is. All right, now I'm going to go through one of the Guinness Book of World Record in mass killing. It is called the Katian Forest mass killing. The method was well planned. These were prisoners of war. So this happened during the Second World War. These were prisoners of war, mostly Polish, taken in the Katian Forest in Russia. The prisoners were taken to a red colored room called Leninist room. Here, the prisoners were identified. They were handcuffed and taken to an execution room. The totally soundproof room had a drainage and arrangement for water. Then the prisoner was made to stand with the wall against the wall. The charge sheet was read out, but it was so vague that no one understood what is being read out. The prisoners were given no chance to say anything. Blokin was the person. He shot the prisoners in the head. Blokin killed a prisoner every 3 minutes. Working 10 hours every night, Blokin and his team killed 7,000 prisoners in 28 days. This is the Guinness Book of World Record. Blokin died in 1955. He had gone alcoholic. He was secretly awarded the Order of Red Banner. This is very interesting because even this, which went as the largest mass killing, at least of modern times, will not be considered genocide. So, genocide is something very subtle. So, let's go into it. Remember again the definition of genocide that we went over and over again in the previous lecture with hate crime and this. But what I'm going to introduce now is someone else called Pandit Jonoraj, who was probably the first theorist to talk about genocide, and he has a very interesting definition. Who is Pandit Janaraj? He was a Kashmiri Pandit. We always talk about the Raj Tarangini, the first and the second one, but this we never talk about. It was discovered by Dr. Dilip Kaul of the Janaraja Institute of Genocide and Atrocity Studies in Jammu, India. And this is the third Raj Tarangini. He talks about something called Jati Vidhwans. And if you ask me, I think this is more an appropriate term for genocide rather than Ganahatya. Ganahatya is mass killing. Genocide is Jati Vidhwans. And he, in his verse 375, he says, he gives a very interesting analogy. He says, like a storm that uproots trees and like locusts devastating a rice crop. And he's giving all agricultural analogy here. Ravana, as the Muslims devastated the lived life of Kashmir. He makes the lived life clear in a poetic way. A storm uproots trees, so roots are destroyed. Locust destroys the branch. So Jonraj explains that all the Deshachara, everything was being destroyed. By whom? By a Kashmiri Pandit called Suhabhatta, who converted to Islam. For us, the most important thing is this analogy of the branch of trees, Jati Vidhwans. He Jati for Janraj is an ethno-religious identity. Raphael Lemkin also talks about genocide as it's a cultural thing. It goes over generation. It's not a one-time thing. But see what's very interesting. He gives the analogy of the roots and branches of a tree. If we take off one leaf or one branch or pluck a fruit from a tree, it won't be annihilated. But if we take it, uproot it, then it will be. And Vrikshanam Shalinam Shalaivati Kashmira Deshacharanam Dhangshay Yavanakrita by the invaders, by Yavanas. Jana Nam Jati Vidhwang Suhabhatta Kritodam. Suhabhatta is doing this. He converted to Islam. And that ideology, again, we talked about this, not the individual, but the ideology where it was his moral duty to uproot Jati Vidhwangs, the roots and branches. If we take off one leaf, it's not going to affect the tree, but if we uproot it, then it's going to be completely destroyed. Now I'm going to build a feminist analysis on why this is so important. So let's go back to Freud's totem and taboo. According to Freud, in the remote past, all the fathers of a clan or a tribe kept the woman to himself. There was no transaction with, giving the woman to another tribe. He kept all the women to himself. He enjoyed them. There was no incest taboo. So one day, this is all metaphorical, Freud's totem and taboo. The brothers rose up in revolt and killed the father, ate his flesh, and drank his blood. And they made a contract amongst themselves. They will not enjoy any of the women in the clan, they will transact them to another tribe, and they will bring women from the other tribe or clan. And this is the first Freud calls as the universal incest taboo, the exchange of women, which we now call the institution of marriage. So woman is the commodity of exchange by which kinship structure is built. Marcel Mauss, a French anthropologist, said that in the absence of the state, how did these clans, tribes lived together? Because there was no one state. In our modern society, the state kind of is the power that holds conflicting interests and conflicting classes. Marx talks about the state as the force of operation which looks after class interests, etc. That's a different thing. But for us, the most important thing, the state is the instrument which holds all the classes, different interests together. So it has to use force. In the absence of a state, according to Marcel Mauss, he studied all the tribes in North America, and he said, how did they not continuously fight? Because there was huge exchange. They exchanged all kinds of commodities from uh, sweet potatoes, wheat, and what have you, whatever agricultural products they have. So it's this continuous exchange that kept them together. It's like conversation. When the dialogue stops, you can't go anywhere. But when the dialogue is there, there's continuous exchange. Now, his student Levi Strauss found something very interesting and important, and the building of kinship. He said that all other commodities are perishable. I give you 10 bags of sweet potatoes, yams, and you give me 15 bags, depending on the exchange value. You give me 15 bags of vegetables or rice, but they will be consumed by each tribe. How do we hold that permanent structure together? And he said there is one commodity of exchange which fosters kinship relation, and that's woman. And it's very interesting, at the end of his book called The Elementary Structures of Kinship, he says, I don't have a sister, so I won't have a brother-in-law whom I'm going to fish with, whom I'm going to hunt with. So women are the commodities of exchange to build the kinship structure. Remember, human beings, the child's fundamental desire is incestuous, and kinship is an artificial kind of imposition on that fundamental incestuous desire. So the transaction of women also builds this relationship. So now, how is this related to genocide? When you not only kill, mass killing, you destroy the kinship structure, you change the race through rape and through marriages. In Africa, and we have talked about this before, when the Arabs came to trade, they used to live in separate communities called Zonga, and then they couldn't enter into the mainstream pagan communities indigenous of Africa, but they started intermarrying. Same thing happened with India. The royalty intermarried with the indigenous Hindu communities, the all the Mughal kings and etc. So when you build a kinship, you don't usually attack. In Mahabharata, the same thing, political arrangement, marriages happen. So when you destroy that by marrying, exchanging blood, then that's also part of genocide. So now we have seen the difference between mass killing and genocide. I'm going to apply this a little bit. One is the Yazidi genocide. It happened over a generation. There were 72 genocides. This is the most important temple. It's called the Temple of Lalish. It's still standing there. And in the mountains, they took refuge when ISIS was there. The women were taken as captured as sex slaves and so forth. Conversion is mass killing doesn't involve conversion. This involves they were converted. They were not allowed to speak the Yazidi language. They had to learn Arabic, read the Holy Quran, etc. This is Lalish. It's in Sinjar, which is northern Iraq. This is their center where they took refuge in the mountains. 72 genocides. Now let's look at the Native American genocide. And I'm just going through one aspects of this because I'll go through the Kashmiri exodus in a little bit more detail. From the 19th to the mid 20th century, thousands of Native American children were sent to government run or church run boarding schools. The aim is assimilation. So it's cultural destruction. And this is a story that I've told my friends. There's a very interesting story. A Native American student in my class, when we were talking about genocide, she said she heard this story from her grandma, who heard it from her grandma, because, it's orally transmitted that in their family, Navajo family, the kids were taken to the boarding school and they were very strictly told by Mother Superior, even evidently it was a Catholic school, that they can only speak in English, not in Navajo. So they tried, and at night when no one was there, they're sleeping in their bunker beds, one on top of the other. They started to they had little bread. They didn't have enough food for dinner. I mean, these boarding schools were not exactly nourishing these kids. They started talking in Navajo after the entire day. So someone reported, and Mother Superior came in, and she was very angry. She asked them, "Were you talking in Navajo?" And they put their eyes down and they kept quiet. And she understood they were talking in Navajo. So what she did is she made them take out their toothbrush and clean the bathroom floor with the toothbrush. Orality. The oral is the first stage when we get the pleasure, according to Freud, from the mother's milk, from the other. And so orality, language, that's also is cultural genocide. So genocide is very interesting. So they had to clean the entire bathroom floor with their toothbrush. Now let's come to the Kashmiri genocide, the 7 exoduses. 1339, Shah Mir became the first Muslim ruler of Kashmir, inaugurating the Shah Mir dynasty. This was the start of decline of Hinduism and Shaivism in Kashmir. 1389 to 1413, Shingara or Sultan Sikandar, Miri or Butsikan. Why is he called Butsikan? Because he used to destroy all Buts or all temples, all icons of both Buddhism and Hinduism. The seventh Sultan, member of the Shami dynasty, and destroyed the entire culture. So Shikandar prohibited there is a typo, prohibit or idol worship, no horse riding for kafirs. Kafirs cannot move with arms, kafirs cannot wear diamonds, took away their language. Sanskrit was the core language. In fact, the joke was in Varanasi that a child can speak Sanskrit there even better than a Pandit in Varanasi. There were large scale conversions, daily destroyed the temples and the idols, which was the center of their lives. So 1420 to 1470, Sultan Badshah gave some respite after his death. During the reign of Hyder Shah, genocidal assaults happened that included severing hands, lips, nose, and even impalement. 1496, the second exodus happened when Samshuddin Araki, a Sufi Shah proselytizer, came to Kashmir. He broke the temples, built khanaqahs, lodging for Sufi Muslims. 1600, the third exodus, Governor Iftikhar Khan, the governor of Kashmir, appointed by Emperor Aurangzeb, and Kashmiri Hindus were ordered to be killed. Kashmiri Hindus sought help from Sikh Guru Tej Bahadur and Ji Maharaj, who gave supreme sacrifice for to prevent the genocide. So 1675, Tej Bahadur, the Sikh Guru, was arrested. November 11, 1675, brought to Delhi, and he was given an opportunity to save his life by conversion, which he didn't, and he was killed in a very brutal way. 1819, fourth Exodus. 19th, an ethnic cleansing. 1931, fifth Exodus, Sheikh Ali movement against the rule of the Hindu king, and their Kashmiri Hindus were killed. Then 1986 exodus, when Pakistan's tribes invaded Kashmir, carried out murder of Kashmiri Hindus. 1990 final exodus. And Chunanda Vashisht gave a testimony on that in the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. So for us, the most important thing is to understand that neither hate crime nor mass killing are genocides. Genocide is a much more complex, much more subtle thing. And that's all for today. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully, next week, I've requested Dr. Dilip Kaul, who's an expert on genocide studies and a survivor of the Kashmiri genocide, to come to the show, and they'll be the person who's the survivor, he'll be able to tell his story, and that will reinforce what we are talking about. Thank you. Stay there, stay warm. Namaskar, and bye for today.